Nick Saban just insinuated that the way Ohio State won a national championship is unfair to other programs in college football. And he may have a point. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching. All right, buying a national championship, plus massive cutbacks because we have revenue sharing coming. I'll explain all that, and we'll have our basketball power rankings. But first, Nick Saban says that it's unfair how some teams build their rosters in college football with $30 million of name, image, and likeness money, while other schools can only afford to spend like $3 million on the roster. In fact, he's long touted some of these competitive balance arguments since he's been out of coaching, and even when he was in coaching, as a matter of fact. And until we get to that point, the current system, he says, is unsustainable. He's spot on all of this. Now, Ryan Day and Ohio State just spent over $20 million of name, image, and likeness money on their roster that just won the national championship. In fact, both starting quarterbacks in Monday's national championship game, Will Howard at Ohio State, Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, they transferred into their respective schools, and both were presented large amounts of money to do so. Saban is absolutely right that we have an imbalance of financial power in college football, and neither Saban nor I are insinuating that Ohio State did anything wrong. No, quite the contrary. They took the current system, they used it better than anybody else, and now they're national champions. You know, we can look at other schools too. Oregon did not spend $20 million on its Big Ten championship roster. In fact, in a moment, I'll share with you what they did spend, and it's a lot lower than you probably think. But, you know, they had a collective, and maybe had they collected more name, image, and likeness money, maybe their season would have continued past the playoff round loss to Ohio State. But they did get a Big Ten championship out of it. And that doesn't mean Oregon has been ineffective with the money that they have and how they spend it. You know, you go back and look at a bunch of players at Oregon over the past couple of years. Quarterback Bo Nix transferred in from Auburn. And, you know, not only did he make a lot of money, but he rejuvenated his career, and he just finished a successful rookie season in the NFL with the Denver Broncos. So the system worked for him. I'd argue it worked for Oregon, and it worked for him. Worked for the player, worked for the team. After he left, Dillon Gabriel shocked everybody at Oklahoma when he announced his departure to Oregon before last season. He won a Big Ten title. He became a Heisman finalist. Not too bad. Again, for the player and the team, it worked out. And name, image, and likeness money, it lured other effective players at Oregon in Eugene. Receivers like Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, Trayshawn Holden. It all worked out. And when it works, name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal, they go hand in hand, and it works great. But there could be problems as well. Sometimes things don't always work out. For example, Wisconsin defensive back Xavier Lucas. He's trying to transfer to Miami, but the Badgers refuse to release him into the transfer portal because they say they have a binding 2-year name, image, and likeness deal, and contracts mean something. Plus, frankly, Luke Fickell entering a pivotal third year with the Badgers, he needs to start winning some football games. He's probably not going to be too quick to let players go out the door. Sounds like he kind of put his foot down on this matter for his own benefit. Don't blame him, but I think that's probably part of the equation. By the way, the Big Ten issued a statement on this Wisconsin situation, and they're backing Wisconsin in this player dispute. The conference says, look, revenue sharing is here. It's at our doorstep. It's going to start here. Contracts have to be honored. So they're backing the school and not the player on this. And situations like this might be what Nick Saban is talking about when he says that he, agrees players should be compensated. Doesn't have any problem with that. He said it always isn't in the best interest of players. A situation like this where a player's kind of stuck might be what he's talking about. And situations like this Wisconsin problem prove that Saban was right when he says the college football landscape, it's just not sustainable. We're going to have problems. We already do have problems. We're going to have more problems. Now, I like what Saban says here and in other venues on other topics as well, all the time. Anytime he speaks, I listen. I think it's fascinating to talk about, both back when he was a coach, as a motivator, as a coach, and now as a commentator on the game over at ESPN. And he talks about a myriad of subjects. And I think his opinion is always very important and well taken by everybody that listens to him. He's always making comments and suggestions on TV regarding the health of college football, and they always make sense. And it's always about things that are concerning to college football in today's world. And after all, it's these very topics that got him to retire from the game. He didn't want to deal with all of this stuff, so he just left. I don't think he should go too far from college football. I like that he's on TV talking about it, but I think he should take it a step further. I think somebody with some brains should take Nick Saban, and instead of have him talk on TV every week, somebody should take his wealth and experience and knowledge and success and opinions and make him the commissioner of college football. I know. We don't have a commissioner in college football. That's part of the problem. We should. So, look, I've been saying this for years. All major sports have a commissioner in case there's problems or conflicts, somebody that can get right to the middle of the issue and make some decisions. While all major sports have commissioners, the NCAA's conferences have commissioners. There's a Big Ten commissioner. There's an SEC commissioner. But they all act in their own best interest for their individual conferences. And what's good for the Big Ten might not be good for the ACC or the Big 12 or the ACC or the Mountain West. That's why I think you need a commissioner, an umbrella over all of it. But the NCAA that exists as it does today above the conferences, they're feckless. They're weak. Their lack of proactiveness with issues like NIL and portals and soon revenue sharing has been coming down the pike. We've been seeing it coming, and now it's here. And they did nothing. They buried their head in the sand, didn't do anything. Now we got everybody playing on an uneven surface. Some schools are doing this, some are that, some can do this, some can't. That's what Nick Saban's talking about right now. It's quickly becoming more and more the haves versus the have-nots. You need somebody in control, make this a level playing field. And the playing field is nowhere near being be even right now. It's the wild, wild west out there. You want some stats to back it up? Told you a minute ago, Ohio State spent about $20.2 million on its roster, giving it to its players this year. They were not the highest. Texas was the highest. They spent $22.2 million. Interesting, both those teams made it pretty far into the playoffs. LSU coming in at $20 million. Georgia, fourth at 18.3. You think maybe they'd be a little higher. Texas A&M, 17.2. Michigan, top six, $16.3 million. Of course, they just put together a $12 million deal to get the number one recruit in the country in Bryce Underwood. Couldn't have done that if they didn't have a nice NIL collective all set and ready to go. Alabama at $15.9 million. Florida at 15.8. And Clemson is 15.2. Interesting, because Clemson really doesn't dabble in the transfer portal business. So they have all these millions of dollars. They use them on the players they have or high school players coming up that they recruit. Oklahoma rounds out the top 10 at 14.8. Not getting a lot of bang for their buck these days, are they? Teams 11, 12, and 13 are actually all Big Ten teams on this list. Penn State at $13.7 million, Indiana at 13.6, and Michigan State at 13. Penn State and Indiana were playoff teams. Michigan State right there with them with the money. I haven't seen the results just yet with Jonathan Smith and the team. That harkens back to when Mel Tucker was fired, and there were a couple of days of rumors that maybe they were trying to get Urban Meyer to kick the tires on coming out of retirement. They said, look, we got facilities, we got a fan base, and we have NIL. They started putting NIL back, a lot of money together. Got $13 million ready to go. Oregon, 19th at 10.6. I told you earlier, they don't spend as much as you think because they got Phil Knight and Nike right there. Everybody goes, oh, Oregon's got all the money they need. They spent half as much as Ohio State did this year. Now, Oregon won a Big Ten championship, but Ohio State won a national championship. And interesting, right there with them, Iowa, 9.6 million, Washington, 9.4, and Illinois, 9.3. Iowa doesn't really seem like a school that slings a lot of money. So Oregon is in the same department as Iowa and Washington and Illinois, and they're all like half of what Ohio State is spending at the top of that list. Anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting to look at the difference between the have and the have-nots, just even with the Big Ten. I just ran through the top 25 schools in the country, and the difference between 1 and 25 is over $10 million. And you could go even further down the list with schools that really aren't able to participate as much. But anyway, look, it all needs to be evened out somehow. And I never said Ohio State did anything wrong. Congratulations to them. They nailed it. They did it right. They're cruising, and they're going to keep on going. Later on, we'll have the odds to the favorites to win the national championship next year. Some of these money teams are right there on the list. We'll take a look at that. But in the meantime, I like to see a guy like Nick Saban become commissioner of college football. That would make a lot of sense. It won't happen. It's a pipe dream, but that's what I like to see. How about you? Hit me up with the comments there on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcasts. So that way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. And we have all of our podcasts go there chronologically, and we group them by school and also links if you want to buy your favorite team's merchandise, maybe some Ohio State national championship T-shirts, maybe an Oregon Duck Big Ten champion hat, something like that. It's all right there on our website, Talk Big Ten. So check that out at talkbig10.com. Love to have you visit that website. In the meantime, some other things I want to get to. Paul Finebaum and the SEC have admitted defeat. Yes, the Big Ten is better. I'll have the story. Revenue sharing is forcing staff and budget cuts at least one Big Ten school. More are coming. Buckeye quarterback transfers out right after the national championship. And I mentioned those early odds to win the Natty next year. All that's coming up. We're loaded right here on this episode of Locked On Big Ten. PrizePicks makes playing games fun. It's the place to get real money, sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of winnings, PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big while playing and enjoying all the football action here. What you do is you group some players together, 2 players, 3 players, 6 players, put some stats with them, and you say more than or less than with those stats. And then you can sit back. You could win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. It's very easy. Plus, they got their flex play where you could still double your money, or even if one of your picks doesn't hit, you're still good to go. And the app is very easy. You get your winnings sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, just $50 for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with PrizePicks. PrizePicks, run your game. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. And meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And check out our website, talkbig10.com. Paul Finebaum, he's always bragging, and he's bragging about the SEC and how great they are, and he's bagging on the Big Ten that they're not good. It occurred to me while watching the Big Ten dominate the top of the college football rankings all season long, and of course, capping off back-to-back national championships when Ohio State followed Michigan's natty by defeating Notre Dame the Fighting Irish for the title on Monday night. This must have been difficult for SEC elitists like Finebaum here. Making matters worse for SEC elitists was watching Ohio State just mow through SEC powerhouses like Texas and Tennessee along the way to their playoff run. In fact, the Big Ten beat the SEC in all but one head-to-head matchup this postseason, including the bowl games. There was USC, coached by Finebaum punching bag Lincoln Riley. He hates Lincoln Riley. Says he's a fraud. Well, Lincoln Riley's USC team beat Texas A&M from the SEC, and this was a down year from USC. Michigan beat Alabama twice in one calendar year, if you want to get specific about it, January 1 and then again on December 31st. Illinois beat South Carolina. Clearly, the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC as the elite in college football. Even SEC diehards have to admit, including Finebaum. In fact, Finebaum did on Tuesday on ESPN. I heard it with my own ears, saw it with my own eyes. He said, to the victors go the spoils. He said the Big Ten is the best conference in America. And he said this makes the SEC feel very uncomfortable. No longer the top dog. What do you think about that? I could suggest that the SEC's downfall is because they have been paying players all these years. And now that name, image, and likeness is legal to pay players, it's kind of got everybody caught up. I could say that, but that'd be a low blow. Cheap shot by me. Ignore that. As we enter the world of revenue sharing among college athletics, and this is going to happen this year, up to like $20 million per athletic department, and this is separate from name, image, and likeness. The actual revenues of athletic departments and schools have to be shared with the athletes, again, up to about $20 million a year. That's right off the old budget line item. Indiana University has laid off 25 athletic department employees as it gets ready for the revenue sharing era. Keep in mind, this is a department that earned extra monies because their football team is good, sold out a lot of football games, a lot of tickets this year, and of course made it to the playoffs, which is very lucrative. According to the Indianapolis Star, employees were notified on Thursday the school is trimming 10% across the board, all divisions of the athletic department, including communications and compliance. The Hoosiers will not be eliminating any sports programs or coaches or staff members, but I would expect stories like this at just about every Power 4 school in the country in the coming weeks. Indiana was just the first one we found out about because it was reported at Indianapolis Star. One more note from the Ohio State Buckeyes championship season. The backup quarterback, Devin Brown, who announced weeks ago, I think it was December 9th, that he was going to enter the transfer portal, but he wanted to hang around on the team while they make their run for national championship. He wanted to be a part of it. Unlike, say, for example, Penn State backup quarterback Bo Perbula, who announced he was going to the portal in early December and left right away and missed the playoff games. And they really didn't have a good backup quarterback. Anyway, Brown wanted to stay. He'd been there at Ohio State a couple of years. And now that they won their national championship, he has announced he's going to Cal. Play for the Cal Bears. He feels like he's got a pretty good shot at winning the starting job there. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. 2 seasons ago, Kyle McCord edged him out for the starting job at Ohio State, and this year, Kansas State transfer Will Howard beat him out for the job. Brown did appear briefly in 9 games this season. He did start last year's Cotton Bowl when McCord announced he was transferring out, and with Brown leaving and Will Howard's eligibility used up, and freshman Aaron Nolan transferring to South Carolina, look for former 5-star recruit and redshirt freshman Julian Sayin to lead the Buckeyes offense to their defense of the national title. As we look ahead to the national title, 2026, what are the odds? What's Vegas saying out there? Well, they got Texas as the best odds to win a national championship at plus 450. Ohio State right there at plus 500. Kind of ironic, not ironic, that those are the top 2 schools that spend the most name, image, and likeness money that we mentioned earlier. $20 million between the two, and they're the favorites to win it all next year. They got it rolling. Georgia is next at plus 600. Thought they'd be higher, maybe. Oregon at plus 750, as is Penn State. Oregon and Penn State, the two teams that played in the Big Ten championship game, both same odds, plus 750. Alabama plus 1,300, and Notre Dame, runner-up this year, at plus 1,500 to win the national championship in 2026. Hey, quick note here on a Wednesday. We got some hoops tonight I want to tell you about. Indiana is at Northwestern. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern on the Big Ten Network. Also, USC is at Nebraska, 9 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. So, doubleheader tonight, Big Ten Network. Women's action here on Wednesday. Penn State at 21st ranked Michigan State. That's on Big Ten Plus at 6:30 Eastern. 4th ranked USC with Juju Watkins taking on Purdue at West Lafayette. That's on Peacock, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. 24th ranked Michigan taking on 23rd ranked Minnesota. That is at 8 o'clock Eastern on Big Ten Plus. And then Iowa out west, they are at Washington, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. That will be on the Peacock Network. So anyway, we covered a lot here. Would love to hear your comments on it. Hit us up with the comments on YouTube. Coming up in a minute, we'll do our midweek men's basketball power rankings. We always enjoy that. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. Let me tell you about Talkspace. Therapy. It's a game changer. And it can help manage stress, improve sleep, communicate more effectively, all that stuff. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule, it can be a challenge. That's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace is the leading virtual therapy provider. Makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. And with Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours. And it's convenient, and you can have sessions from the comfort of your own home. You can even message your therapist in between appointments. And as a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/lockedoncollege. Enter the promo code SPACE80, all like one word, SPACE80, to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/lockedoncollege and enter the promo code SPACE80 and get $80 off your first month and show your support for this show. That's Talkspace.com/lockedoncollege, promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. All right, it's time. We always do features at the end of our show, whether it's our top 10 Big Ten observations of the weekend on Mondays, Tuesday tweets. Wednesday, we do our power rankings. That's what we're going to do right here. So let's put this on screen. We're going to power rank the Big Ten men's basketball as we see them, the standings as we see them. We got Michigan State ranked number 1. You know, they're still looking good. They beat number 19 Illinois. They are 4-2 with quad 1 wins, 4-0 with quad 2 wins. Purdue next there. They had the 7-point win versus 13th ranked Oregon. Purdue, by the way, the 3rd toughest schedule in the country, according to experts. I'm an expert. I think it's pretty tough. Wisconsin at number 3. They beat Ohio State. They beat USC. They won 7 in a row. We like the Fighting Illini at number 4. Had a win over Indiana. They lost to Michigan State on the road by 2. And then a home loss to USC. They're wobbling right now. I might drop Illinois some more next week unless they get back on their winning ways. I know they had a little injury. I got Michigan sitting there. They lost to Minnesota. You know, I guess you always have one of those games throughout the year. Minnesota, one of the most, I don't want to say the worst team in the Big Ten, but they're struggling. And Michigan had a hiccup and lost to them in overtime. They got Purdue coming up, so I'm going to leave them right here for now, see if they can redeem themselves against a good Purdue team. Oregon at number 6, they had the loss to Purdue. UCLA, Illinois, high profile. They have these close, high profile games. They've racked up a loss or two here and there. Maryland, they got them they're at number 7, which means they're on the bubble of being a contender here. But they are 0-4 in quad 1 games. Need a quality win here, Terps. UCLA is spiraling. I probably have them too high here at number 8. Probably should drop them some. And losses to Rutgers. They did beat Iowa. But Mick Cronin doesn't seem like he likes his own team very much. Very critical of them to the media, says they're soft. I got Rutgers at number 9. They had a little hiccup there when Dylan Harper was out sick. He's healthy. They're just a day and night team when he's in the lineup versus when he's not. Got to win against UCLA, Nebraska. Speaking of Nebraska, I got them rounding out my top 10, coming off a loss to Rutgers, Maryland. Let's see what we got here. The best of the rest with our midweek power rankings for men's basketball. Northwestern at number 11. They had a loss to Michigan. Indiana at number 12. I don't know what to do with them. They had a 1-point win at Ohio State last Friday. Mike Woodson struggling to get this team to play its best. USC at number 13. They beat Iowa. They lost to Wisconsin recently. Iowa. Again, Iowa, 2 years in a row, Iowa. I've got them at 14. They had a loss to USC and UCLA. They can score points. If they figure out defense, they can be a decent basketball team. Ohio State, I got them at number 15. They had like I said, they lost at home to Indiana last Friday. They lost to Michigan State. They've lost to IU and Wisconsin. They've lost 3 games by a combined 5 points. So maybe they can start getting things together at Ohio State. I got Penn State at number 16. They're the ones that lost to Michigan State and have lost 4 in a row. Minnesota was at the bottom. I moved them up 1 because they beat 20th ranked Michigan. Got to give them a little support for that. And that means the Washington Huskies rounding out the bottom of the Big Ten in our weekly power rankings. I think the toughest part of their schedule is over, but man, been some tough sledding for the Huskies. All right. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know what you think on our basketball power rankings. We do that every Wednesday. Many ways for you to interact with this podcast, of course, with me at Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten, our website, talkbig10.com. And before you do anything else, hit that subscribe button, please. That will help us out. You and I will be on the same loop every day. You'll know when our podcasts come out each day. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Lockdown Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. There's so much great news out there every day. We'll continue to keep an eye on all the football programs. The quiet before the storm. The season is over after the Ohio State Buckeyes National Championship. Spring football practice and spring games are going to be right around the corner. There's always news, transfer portal, recruiting, signing day coming up. A lot of footballs. We keep an eye on basketball as well. Right here, all under one umbrella. Locked on Big Ten for all of your news, opinion, analysis, right here. Join us each and every day and tell your friends about us as well. Thanks for joining us here today. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow for Locked on Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.